Uh, so, is the book Galaxy 666 by Pel Toro the worst book ever written? By the Seven Green Moons of Gongol. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to start this with such a heinous curse. I first came across this book when I was young, 12, I think, maybe 13. I had gone with my parents to a local mall, and like I usually did, I wandered over to the mall's bookstore. I was always a science fiction fan, so I was looking through the shelves of books, trying to find something I wanted to read. And then I saw this book. What attracted me to it was the cover, since the cover featured what looked like the Enterprise from the original series of Star Trek. I thought this was a Star Trek story. And since it was also cheap, the book was purchased. And once I got home, I started reading it. Man, was I in for a surprise. The book is slow and disjointed. There are long stretches where the author proves he has a thesaurus and knows how to use it. To call the characters one dimensional is too kind. There's a link between two characters, some kind of extraordinary ability that are hinted at in one scene and never mentioned again until the very last page of the story. Now, the story, such as it is, set in an undisclosed future when an empire rules the galaxy, or does the empire rule the universe? It's never really made clear. There's a region of space known as Galaxy 666 where the laws of physics go sideways. Our characters travel to this region to try and figure out what's going on. There's a planet. There's a crash. There are aliens. And then it ends. That's about it. One of the problems with the book is its repetition. I don't mean facts being repeated chapter after chapter. I mean within the same paragraph. Things are repeated. For example, and I quote, "Don't know," said Korzak. "Wish to God I did. I wish by the seven green moons of I did. I wish by all the powers in heaven and hell and the universe in between that I had an answer to this." Okay, got it. You don't have an answer, and you wish you did. Okay. There are references to faster than light travel, with mentions of both hyperspace and something called the warp. Is it similar to warp drive from Star Trek? Is it hyperdrive from Star Wars? Sometimes it seems like both, sometimes neither. Sometimes it can be all these things and more. And the author also doesn't seem to have a grip on what planet the characters crashed on. They apparently doesn't know what the planet looks like. And I quote again, "Across to their right, they could see two round hillocks coming out of the ground itself. Between their own position and these two hillocks, there was an expanse of flat, smooth rock, so flat and smooth that it was slippery and difficult to walk on. There were pinkish streaks among the rock, and it seemed that some of the chromatic tint from the atmosphere owed its origins to these. There were a number of white veins in the rock, which bore some kind of resemblance to marble, but the majority of it was gray. It gave an overall impression of grayness, streaked with pink and white, rather than an overall impression of whiteness tinged with gray and pink, or an overall impression of pink streaked with gray and white." End quote. So it's gray, it's pink, it's white, it's all these things and more. Now, The book's not long. It's only like 138 pages. If you read at a even a halfway decent speed, you'll blow through this thing in about an hour or two. It And while it is a quick read, it also drags. There are long stretches of paragraphs that head off on tangents that have nothing to do with the story. And conversations just ramble on about, again, going off in tangents that have nothing to do with the story itself. And then the story ends. And that's it. Now, maybe the story could have been better if it had been shorter, or maybe if it was a short story instead of trying to be a something closer like a novella or a novelette. I don't know. It certainly would have, tighter editing certainly would have helped. Just a little bit about the author. Peltoro was the pseudonym of an author named Lionel Farnham. Why don't I have that written down? Give me 1 minute. For some reason I neglected to include that. So yeah, it's, this person wrote a lot of books. And apparently, from what I understand, he didn't actually write them, he just dictated them into a tape recorder, and then they were transcribed. Peltoro, by the way, was the pen name, one of the many pen names of Lionel Fanthorpe, a retired British priest and entertainer. And it looks like had a number of jobs and a number of sorry, I just had a Joe Biden moment. Sorry about that. He wrote a lot of books. And I'm willing, if Galaxy 666 is any indication, he seems to be kind of like the science fiction equivalent of Louis L'Amour. If you've ever heard of him, apparently L'Amour wrote a book a month, and somehow they got published. Although when I do look here in Google, I do see that there are other books of his that are available. I'm still trying to figure out if I want to read them or not. I don't know. I tend to be a bit masochistic, but maybe not that masochistic. So we'll have to see how it goes. But yeah, it's there. It exists. It's a book. And it's not a good book. Really, it's not. It is not. So, but is it the worst book ever written? I haven't read every book written, so I can't say, but it is the worst book I've ever written. And to be honest, whenever I start getting down on myself as a writer, I just think back to this book and think, well, at least it's not as bad as Galaxy 666. So I'm sorry if this seems a bit disjointed. This is actually my first real book review. Usually when I read a book and I put and I review it, I usually just put in the stars unless the book really hits me one way or another. But yeah, so I'm sorry if this seems a little disjointed. I'm still still working on this whole YouTube thing. Opening up to people like this is still not the easiest thing for me to do, but we won't go into that now. Just a couple other things before we end this. I will be doing my review on my 2 new pens. The 2 pens that I picked up for Christmas, and also another pen that I picked up a couple of weeks ago. I had a really bad week at on my day job, and I wanted a little retail therapy, and I saw in Jet Pens that the tactile turn solid copper, don't worry about it, had one available. I've always admired these pens, but I thought I write with fountain pens. What do I need a roller ball for? It's like, it's always good to have a roller ball handy. And I love the mechanism. But I'll be reviewing this also when I review those 2. And hopefully that won't be too much longer in the future. My mental roller coaster is continuing. I'm seriously thinking of maybe finding a doctor, because I'm starting to be concerned that I might be bipolar. Considering the way I go from the emotional roller coaster I go on any average day at work, I'm thinking I might be, but that's not the point of this. I'm not going to go any further into that. So, is Galaxy 666 the worst book ever written? Well, it's the worst book I've ever read. So, there you go. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking with me all this time through everything. And hopefully won't be too long until the next video. If I could just stop being distracted by the reflection of my ring light in my glasses. So I'm seeing 2 reflections, one against the inside of the lens and one against the outside of the lens. Fascinating. So thanks for watching. And remember, we are each of us the heroes of our own stories and the villains of someone else's. And this is the way. Take care, guys.